Welcome to the 5D Codes podcast. Sarah Teresa Lamb coming to you with my wind chime from Rochester, New York. And that's my autumn wind chime, Koshi chime. Thought I'd start out with a little musical interlude. I had trouble editing, and this is what this episode is about. How we find the calm in the chaos. How the so-called chaos is part of the 5D. In fact, we need it. We need it to get to that 0 point. And we're going to tap into at least what my intuition is telling me about what 0 point is. But let's dive into the void, aka the chaos of the unknown, in this episode together. Honestly, I hemmed and hawed about recording an episode, and I've hemmed and hawed for the past week. I just got back from 2 months out west doing what my soul calls a grid work mission, right? To the outsider, it might look like, I'm pet sitting and house sitting in Ashland, Oregon, and Grass Valley, California. I'm, staying with a friend and enjoying some social time with a friend in Half Moon Bay, California. That's what it looks like on the outside. A human going about her, pretty mundane business in new locales. But on the inside, the soul's journey is one of lots and lots of quantum activations. Changing locations not only opens and enlivens me, it sparks and activates deep, untapped parts of my soul self, my own soul signature, that would not otherwise be activated. Parts that feel, if you believe in the multiverse theory, I honestly believe everything exists and nothing exists. So that's what we're tapping into with this chaos theory, we'll call it, the 5D chaos theory. And all of this is an energetic signature. So what I'm saying doesn't matter so much. Words do mute things. And this is why I've been hemming and hawing about even publishing this. Words are limiting, right? And it's a limitation that I think many of us are hitting a wall with. So if you're listening to this, you get it on some level, if not consciously, unconsciously. I have tapped in to the profundity of my soul. There's the English major in me speaking. Love words like profundity. But really, even deeper than that, like the unlimited, vast potential of my soul in silence. The deepest connections I've had with myself, who I truly am, as a soul having a human experience, have been in utter silence. And I am a verbose person, which is, hence me wanting to be a podcaster. Communication feels like it's part of my dharma. It is my soul's mission. But I'm seeing now that the most communication that I'm doing is wordless, is me existing from the deepest part of me every day, embodying that God consciousness, embodying, the essence of the Holy Spirit consciousness in this physical form. And that is a bold act. And that is why we are here, to constantly remember to stay embodied as God consciousness, seeing through the human eyes that you've chosen in this existence, in your current avatar. But if we tap into the multiverse theory, right, all aspects of you exist at once. And I believe, again, this is just my soul talking, your soul has its own tone, frequency, aka truth. And all truths are meant to exist at once. So think about, a billion notes being played at once, billions of choir singers singing at once, and it all actually harmonizing into a oneness frequency that honestly sounds like a neutral note. So think of let's use Om. They say Om, the yogis say, is the frequency of the universe, when everything is still and quiet, you can hear the hum of the Om vibration. Well, we could theorize that a billion souls singing their own authentic tune, meaning they have stripped away all of the matrix societal programs and they have gone down to 0 point within themselves, which is their true natural tone, untainted by the tone of anyone else. Those tones harmonize. They are not, in disharmonizing, if I'm even saying that correctly. And again, we're tapping into 0 point. There is no incorrect. Where there's correct, there's incorrect, right? If we're going to look at things in a black and white polarizing perspective, that's what we're going to see. But we're going even deeper than that, into the soundless existence. But to get to the soundless existence, right, this is the paradox, almost like a Zen koan, we need sound. You need sound to have no sound. There has to be that comparison, right? We only know the lightest of lights because we have been to the depths of darkness. So, and that's why those that have a near-death experience, NDE, most people that come back from that, my dad was one, have experienced that God consciousness in some way, shape, or form. And my dad, after his near-death experience, when he was in his late 20s, said he was not scared of dying. After that, he was like, I know, my soul is eternal, And he passed away in his physical form in 2021. And to have known his story with his near-death experience and how his soul, processed life from when he had a train hit him, the train accident in his 20s, to when he passed away in his mid-70s, was such a powerful thing. It was like I got to watch somebody embody that. And his conscious self knew that he was not here to gather material possessions. He was here to show his love as deeply as he could to all of those in his life. And that is exactly what he did. When he passed on, I was with him as his death doula, in a sense. My sister and my aunt and I were all there. I got to see his soul leave his body. And I think I talked about this a bit in my last podcast. It was such a powerful experience, but it was so simple. It was like I literally could see with my physical eyes the energy, the essence of his spirit leave his body. And this is what I feel is meant by like the Holy Spirit. When we are a soul in a body, there's a sense of holiness that's keeping this shell, alive. And when that holiness leaves, it literally looks like an empty vessel. One thing that my dad's human avatar was struggling with before he passed, because he'd had a stroke and his right side of his brain and body was essentially half dead, was he was going through this life review at one point, and I was guided to say to him, Dad, you were so successful, because he felt he basically, lost this probably 30 plus year career. After my sister passed away, he was let go from his job and he was very high up in this company, and he felt like a failure. And I knew he was carrying that with him. I could feel it in his energy body. And so I was guided to just have a soul to soul talk with him. My higher self said, Dad, you were so successful in this life. You may not have millions in the bank, but you loved and you impacted so many people. And that was proven a week later at his memorial service when, people were coming out of the woodwork, neighbors, neighbor kids that we grew up with saying, oh, Mr. Lamb fixed my toys. Mr. Lamb was always helping us. Now, my dad was not a braggart, so he wasn't coming home bragging, oh, I fixed so-and-so's toys today. I'm such a good person, right? He was so humble and honestly Christ-like in the way that he gave to people. Now, it wasn't perfect, because we're all having this human experience. He had his stuff. And part of the stuff that he was holding on to was this feeling of being a failure because he hadn't gathered, what the American dream wants you to gather, all those material possessions. Now, when his soul left his body, he didn't take that with him. And I got to see that firsthand. And tears were streaming down my dad's face when I told him how deeply he loved. He got it. He got it on a soul level. And I saw how quickly we can let go of these held resentments. It's literally a split second. My back of my head's buzzing as I'm saying this. Wow. Okay. Hello, pineal pituitary activation here. So if you're listening, you're feeling this too on some level. We always get what we need when we need it. So my dad essentially let go of, I feel like, lifetimes of burdens. If you believe in the multiverse theory, I believe it connects to past life, future life too. So all lives at once, all versions of you at once, that version that wanted to be in that relationship, that version that didn't want to be in that relationship, the version that, moved to this state, the version that studied abroad, the version that didn't take the risks. All of those versions exist. And in a split second, as we embody the true divine essence that we are, all of those versions, just like those billions of souls singing their own soul note, merge into one. They can come into that 0 point together. I really feel like that's what coming into 5D consciousness is, and that's what my spirit is wanting me to communicate. And I'm going to just share a little teaser of my experience at Big Sur, because we are all destined to have our own awakening, experiences, and yours are going to look and feel very differently than mine, but the essence and embodiment of them is the same. So no doubt, if you are listening, and my intention putting this podcast out is the people that are meant to find it when they're meant to find it. And I had a conversation at the airport last night, actually, in Atlanta. I had to get some dinner, and I sat in this, public eating area, and was guided to sit at this bar area where I could kind of people watch. And there was a man and a woman on either side of me, and the gentleman to the left of me started a conversation, which is interesting now as I'm thinking he was sitting on the left, which is the divine feminine side. And I had been in a place earlier in the day where I felt like I was in a kind of a hermit place, and I'm like, I feel really disjointed when it comes to people right now. And I looked around the airport, and I had this moment of terror because I noticed everyone spinning in their thoughts. I could literally, if I wanted to, read people's minds. And I said, no, but I can see their thought loops. I can see them stewing in their worries and their anxieties. And the reason I could see it was because I was doing it. It was a reflection. And in that moment, my spirit said, "You're asleep, Sarah." And I had this big terror, and I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at all of these people that are asleep, that are stuck in their default programs, right? They're like my dad was before his awakening on his deathbed. They were stuck in self-doubt, regrets. Most of them too were looking down. Their body language was closed. Their eyes were basically telling me without speaking, and this is why I'm stumbling over my words, because there was so much energy happening, that they were stuck, that they were trapped, and they were pleading for help. So when I saw that, I felt that within myself. And what I have been doing when I have these moments of doubt, I guess it's really just doubt in the creator, doubt that I am the creator, that I am God consciousness. Because when you step into full fifth dimensional living, which is heart-based, unconditional, loving existence, really fully manifesting your soul in this body, you realize it's all love. It is all love. And Course in Miracles taps into this really beautifully. It is all love. And you tap into this energy of forgiveness. And it's not about other, it's about self. So I named it. I said, I'm asleep. If I'm recognizing I'm asleep right now, does that mean that I've woken up? Because the moment that you see yourself is the moment you become conscious. And I I don't know about you, but I continue to have these moments. So it's like sleep, awake, right? So I named what I was feeling. I'm feeling terrified. Wow. And my whole being calmed and opened up. And I had this cool conversation with this guy at dinner, and he was talking about tapping into crypto, which is something I played around with last year and had a weird experience with it. Experience I needed to have, I guess. But I've struggled with the money game because I am such an energy person, and the material world still feels like really illusory to me. And essentially it is illusory, but we have to learn how to work with that illusion, right? While we're in these bodies, because the 3D is a thing. So I was talking a little bit about my spiritual journey and my experience at Big Sur, just, sharing that the land was really powerful. And this guy had lived in San Francisco. So we were talking about that part of California. And obviously some things that I said activated him. So he had to catch his plane. I was finishing up my food and had to leave shortly as well. He left before I did, but then he popped back, and I had a feeling. I was like, I feel like there's some kind of string here, that we're meant to connect for some reason. So he came back and asked for my contact, and I was like, I shared some information on crypto. I would love to hear, more of your wisdom, essentially is what he said. And there was a little bit of a flirtatious energy too, but I feel like that's all par for the course. Like, that's human interaction is flirtatious. You know what I mean? Even if it is platonic, there is a sense of flirting with the other person's energy. There's a sense of singing. It's like you're singing together. Like, let's play. We're playing together, right? And for me right now in my journey, I am feeling that there's a more sensual energy connected to that. So it was interesting this guy was sitting on my left side, because I feel into the energy of creation, which is sensual, right? And the sexuality is just the creative spark. It has been really ridiculed, I think, by what I call the matrix, by society. It has been made to seem dirty and made to seem ugly, because the more fear that they can sprinkle on it, the more that it's going to keep you asleep, the more that it's going to keep you from singing your own soul tune. Because let me tell you, when you tap into your true authentic nature, you're going to tap into wildness. You're going to tap into an energy that nobody else embodies, because it's only you, boo, right? It's you and God, you and source. So I am noticing for myself, I'm getting like, wow, this like lust energy is coming out. And it scared me when I was in Big Sur and I was at Esselen in these hot springs where it's clothing optional. I hate bathing suits personally. I think that they're very constricting, and I think they sexualize the body more than being naked. So I voted for not wearing clothing. So, there was community hot spring tubs, and there was these individual tubs. Most people walked out in a towel and then, threw their towel off and got in the tub. I would say 75% of the people were without clothes. And I tapped into, even though I'm like there for a spiritual purpose, a sensual energy. And I think also it's just being in the water, water connects with the yin feminine aspect of ourselves. And there's a sexual energy there. It's also the element of the sacral chakra. So knowing that other people were naked, seeing them naked was not as much the point. But there was this deep sense of knowing that it is a huge, huge, bold act to fully sing the song of myself. And there might be some resistance, some judgment, whatnot. So what I saw in the airport, and even what I saw in the baths, because there were some people that were scared to be looked at, and I experienced a moment of attraction to another man. And when he looked at me, I was like, oh my God, I feel like a deer in headlights right now, right? Is it okay for me to feel this energy? Knowing that, energetically they asked, that you keep it in neutral zone, but just feeling it sparked some old remnants of the societal shame. And I honestly had to process through that the whole week that I was there. And I had the most profound opening experiences in the baths solo at night when I couldn't sleep at 3:30 a.m. and I saw beautiful meteor showers in the sky. You know, the baths are set up on this cliff, basically outside on this deck overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I mean, you couldn't be in a more remote, beautiful area. The waves are crashing below you. The sky was as clear as could be, like you could see part of the Milky Way. And there were meteor showers. Both nights that I got up to go into the baths, there were meteor showers. And I saw shooting stars. And I even saw an unidentified flying object. I'm just going to leave it at that. I saw some kind of UFO about 4 a.m., only person there. And I know that that's why they showed it to me so clearly, because I have felt ET presence. I've had experiences with ETs, in particular the Blue Beings, which are a Pleiadian Lake Collective group. When I was, after I came back from Mount Shasta the first time, and I'm sharing this now because I'm being guided that it's okay, it's time to share. We are obviously not alone in the cosmos, but we are. That's the trippy part. We are completely alone. This is our experience. And the more I tap into this oneness consciousness, not just mentally, but from this spiritual perspective, the more I experience feeling that 0 point. And that 0 point always hits after moments of chaos. So, the void, the unknown, the black hole, in a sense. If we consider that this world that we're in is a simulation, right? I'm looking at it now like, after my experience in the airport in particular, when I noticed everyone was asleep, including myself, it's like we're all of a sudden realizing we're in a lucid dream. We realize the moment we realize we're dreaming, just like the moment we realize we're sleeping, is the moment we wake up. And in that moment, I felt terror when I was in the airport yesterday, because it was like, what do I do? What do I do now? Instead, I just said, okay, I let myself feel the terror. I let myself feel the fear. I let myself have the awareness that I am asleep. And slowly, throughout the day, my spirit started massaging open. And then I had a full-on 2-hour chat with this woman on the plane after I had the dinner chat with this guy. And it was interesting because I had the option of sitting with this one woman at a table. I had chatted with her briefly because we were on the same flight, like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to get food. And I felt a connection with her. Or do I sit up at this bar where, it was kind of cafe style? I chose the bar because it was like, I wanted the independence. That's my default setting, I guess. And when I looked over at the woman, I was like, interesting. Spirit's telling me that, there's a connection opportunity there. That's just the intuitive hit that I got. So then when I went to my seat on the plane, she was standing there waiting because she was on the aisle and I was a window. I was like, oh, is this your row? She was like, yeah. And immediately we started chatting. And immediately it was connecting. And we have actually very similar avatars. I think that I love personality systems. I do work with them. I think that for me, it's helped me understand my avatar, knowing, human design, I'm a generator, for example. My life path number is 7, the seeker. And I felt like this woman actually resonated as a seeker as well. And like my Enneagram is a 4. I don't think anybody fits perfectly into a box, but knowing that, certain structures exist within you can allow you to understand and work with, the avatar that your soul is operating through with a little bit more grace. That has worked for me because I'm very cerebral. Doesn't work for everyone. In fact, I asked this woman, I was like, oh, do you know personality systems? And I was explaining a little bit about the Enneagram to her because that was the first one that I really dove into after astrology. And I could tell it was like kind of going in and out. It was like she and I are very similar energetically, but that doesn't resonate for her. She doesn't process, the same way I do. And nor do you. No one of us is the same. However, right, because certain of us, let's say, we'll use astrology for example, I'm a Cancer sun sign. You could be a Cancer sun sign. I have a Gemini moon. You might have a Sagittarius moon, right? So emotionally, you're going to respond completely differently. However, our main personality structure, might resonate in certain ways. Like we might be homebodies and, really love being in the kitchen and cooking and nurturing others. But there could also be some huge differences. So looking at, going back to the 0 point, we get there through the chaos. We can even take these personality structures to be an example of organized chaos, because the ego system is the hardest thing to navigate through, right? And other, even, ET beings have said, earthlings are very unique in the fact that we're so highly emotional too, that working with the ego structure, as many meditation teachers have said, it's like trying to tame wild horses. The mind is a bunch of wild horses, essentially. Well, the mind is the ego. The mind is the matrix. And I don't know about you. I mean, I'm on 47 trips around the sun, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I still feel like such a baby when it comes to my mind, because my emotions can go zoop, 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 right? Like I was in the airport and I was didn't realize until I looked at all these people and I had this moment of panic. Oh my God, they're asleep. I was letting my mind run wild, run rampant with this fear energy. But the moment I named the fear was the moment I took the reins, and these horses were suddenly in my command. And all I had to do was say, okay, we're feeling fear, we're feeling terror. We're noticing we're asleep. Suddenly the horses calmed the F down. That's the 0 point. That's the moment. So the chaos, looking at it from the emotional perspective, the chaos is the way that the mind manifests emotionally in the body. So anxiety is a perfect example. And that's, say, future-focused worrying, thinking, but essentially worrying. Or depression, focusing on the past, ruminating. Both past and future-focused worry or fear, when marinated in like that, without grabbing the reins, will just suck us into their black hole, right? It's like we are enveloped in the chaos and we feel like we're drowning, we can't get out until we name it. And what I have noticed for myself, because I used to really struggle with anxiety and depression, I have been getting so much better. And I don't want to put school years on it, right? Because I feel like the moment I say, okay, I feel like I'm in grad school right now, is the moment that I get pushed back to kindergarten, because that's the spiritual journey. It's very humbling. So there's moments when I feel like I'm in grad school, and then I get humbled and I'm like, oh, I'm still in kindergarten. I'm tantruming. I'm having trouble taking the reins, It's going to be a ping pong match. It's about the awareness. The awareness is it. And this is the embodiment of 5D. Your soul recognizing it is here, having this human experience. And part of having this human experience is feeling chaotic at times, noticing the lack of control, essentially, that you have. And then the moment that you name it, I'm not feeling in control. I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling terror, is the moment you grab the reins. That's the moment that you bring in Holy Spirit energy. That's the moment you bring in that God consciousness energy. And remember, you're not doing it alone. You are being supported. And this is I feel like this is the co-creator piece. At least this is what my soul is coming to understand and now be able to verbalize. And I waited to record this because I had a fear of depleting myself, because I feel like I've gained so many personal truths over the past 2 years. And when I started sharing on social media and on my YouTube last year, I started to feel really depleted. And I think part of it was I was so excited to inspire people. And then my video would get shadow banned. Only 100 people would see it, even less sometimes. and thought, why is this getting suppressed? And I was feeling sad and disappointed because I really want to help people. As I want to wake up myself, I want to wake up other people. And I realized there's a timing to things. So, the message that came to me very strongly when I was in Big Sur was patience, my dear, patience, because time doesn't really exist, and we see time, we've been trained through this mind matrix to see time as linear, right? And the 3D as a solid thing. And this is where I love, plant medicine in particular, because it teaches you, you have a trip, teaches you to see things in a non-linear way, because nothing is solid. And I was even talking to my physics friend about this, and he looks at things from that scientific perspective. You can tap into it that way. Nothing is solid. The mind can't process it though, right? If you take away the linear and you're just stuck in the mind and you're not connected to your heart, that's what can cause psychosis. And this is why it is a very delicate dance, and it happens to each of us, this awakening process, in our own time frame. So I, Sarah Teresa Lamb, am guided to share this podcast, and I know that it does not exist in real time and space. So all the souls that are meant to find this, hello, how are ya? Nice to hang with you again, are going to find it at exactly the right time and exactly the right place in their trajectory. Because I know that time is not solid. And that's really, really beautiful to think that truth is 5D, because I truly feel it is. And my hemming and hawing about, do I record this episode or not? Do I save the energy for myself? Because I actually just drew a bath, and I'm going to have to add some hot water to it. But it felt like the Spirit was telling me this is the time. No irony that I'm going to go in water after this, right? The very yin element. And water connects to the subconscious. So beautiful way to ritualize this for yourself is dunk yourself underwater if you're comfortable doing that in your bath, or you have a hot spring or pool or tub nearby. Use it. Bless it. I truly feel like water in itself is such a beautiful metaphor, as a reminder that nothing is solid, and things are very impermanent, things are, the water fits the container that it's put in, right? So things can meld and shift based on the container that you're holding within your own mind matrix. So that moment you become aware, what are you feeling? Name it. What are you experiencing? What are you noticing? Name it, name it, name it. Name it to yourself. And I will talk to myself from the third person. Yep, there's a motorcycle going by saying, yep, she has that voice inside. Sarah, you're doing this, and it feels like I said this out loud at a day retreat that I went to, and we were processing. This woman was like, her name was Sarah too. She's like, Sarah, I've never talked to myself that way. I thought, okay, it probably sounds weird to an outsider the way she was saying it, but she was kind of saying it like, oh, it kind of sounds like your higher self is talking to you. And that's how it started, when I started to amp up that relationship and pray, honestly, and talk to God or source more. And in so doing, connecting with my higher self, when I say Sarah, I feel like I'm talking to myself from that God consciousness. So it's not like a reprimanding. It's actually like the divine loving parent, reminding me who I truly am, who you truly are, is a spark of the divine. You are your own beautiful, unique soul note, back to where we started. And your note can be sung and understood and embodied by you and you alone. Nobody can write a manual or share a podcast that'll get you there. You have to find the answer. But what I'm seeing is like my note, as I'm singing my note by sharing this podcast, this is my authentic voice speaking. I know nobody thinks exactly as I think. And that used to bother me because I wanted to please everybody, right? As an empath, highly sensitive person, I think just being raised in this culture, especially as a woman too, there's this default setting to appease others. Oh gosh, they're going to get triggered, and they could, or activated if I really speak my true feelings and thoughts, if I really act like myself in this moment, and I don't feel like acting very prim and proper, I feel like being really goofy and silly and maybe making a little scene, being dramatic, whatever. Yeah, well, the beautiful thing about us singing our true note is that we might piss people off more than we please them, but that's the activation. That's actually, we're pissing them off because when somebody is their authentic self and they're around somebody who's not their authentic self, that person who's not is going to get really bothered by that. And most times they're going to get bothered. That's their activation before they are pleased by it, right? The pleasure comes from this, and it can go both ways. They can also, feel pleased by it. But I'm saying what most of us are worried about is upsetting others, because we're trained, right, in the matrix to keep the peace, don't upset others, be a cog in the machine, work that job because everybody else is working it, even though you and probably everyone else that works their job probably doesn't resonate with it, right? It might be the right thing for one person because their soul note is unique, but it's not going to resonate for 99% of those other people. And this is what's we are trained to fear, right? Because the matrix tells us that chaos will ensue if we all sing our own unique frequency, when it is the freaking opposite. It is going to be oneness consciousness. We're going to feel that 0 point. That's full 5D. Unconditionally loving consciousness. Embodying that unconditional love means harmony. And look at nature. It's constantly trying to adjust itself. Not that there's not going to be moments of chaos, right? There's hurricanes, there's rainstorms, there's tornadoes. But balance always occurs after. The storm brings the calm, and the calm brings the storm. And they play into each other. The chaos inside of you, your wild horses, are part of your soul song. You cannot be you without them. But you're learning, as I'm learning, to take the reins and not control it as in try to change, manipulate, or repress it, but to allow that energy to just rise up and be. And that's just like the hurricane. We'll use that example in nature. That's the energy that's needed to cleanse and clear and bring you back to that 0 point. It's interesting because I'm recording this in my house, and I have neighbors, and I'm noticing there's cars going by and there's neighbors coming, flitting about, more noise than usual, which is perfect because, as it's always perfect, and that's what we're remembering together. It's a microcosm of the macrocosm. The distractions are representing what I'm talking about. Even as I speak this truth, this soul truth that feels very embodied in my heart, I realize that we are all going to get there in our own time. But time is not linear. So maybe, just maybe, we'll end on this existential note, we're already there. And this is me talking to you, and both of us, or all of us, remembering. We're here. We're singing as a chorus together, and we're embodying this energy of unconditional love, of the 0 point. Perfect harmony. Because I have ultimate faith in you. You have ultimate faith in me. But I had to find it within myself first. And vice versa. Everything that I need is inside of me through this source consciousness. And it still feels trippy to share this verbally because, again, words are not measuring tools. The energy is truly one of ultimate deep stillness. So there might be a little bit of background noise just because of my neighbors and the street. Think of that as the hum of the universe. I want to end just with about 30 seconds of silence together. You might hear my breath. Maybe focus on your own breath. Let's just be and breathe. The equilibrium that you seek is here now. Let's keep stepping into 5D together. Lots of love until next time. Sarah with the 5D code signing out.